Ready to get started in driving and delivering and making some extra money, but not sure which service or which app you should ride for? We're going to be discussing 4 different ones and which one may be the best for you. Let's get in. Hi, I'm Tyler from the RideShare Guy. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, and Instacart, and which one is going to be the best for you and why it could be. So before we dive in and start discussing them one by one and exactly which one works better and how they work, this is going to be dependent on your market. So we actually recommend that you find out what works best for your market, because sometimes some areas Uber Eats is going to be the best, some areas DoorDash is going to be the best, some areas Instacart. So it's going to depend on your area, but we're going to give you some basic principles that help you to see what the difference is so that you can make the decision on which one to start with so that you can get going. So let's take them one at a time. So first, we're going to talk about the big one, Uber Eats. This is the original. Uber is always the one that most people get started with. It's the easiest one to get in. So Uber Eats, when you sign up, you can actually start driving and get out there really, really quick. Sometimes within just a few hours of signing up, you actually get the background check done. All of the background stuff with the registration is taken care of. And with Uber Eats, you can actually be out there in a couple hours. Typically, it takes a few days, but a lot of times it's even faster than that. So Uber Eats is going to be one of the best for that reason. Another reason that Uber Eats is great is that a lot of times they have promotions, or they call them quests or different things like that, where you can actually get more money. And when you're out there driving, you want to make sure that you're doing the best you can to get those quests and promotions that they have. So for instance, you might get one that it's if you do 3 deliveries back to back, you'll get an extra amount of money. Usually it's just a few dollars. Sometimes it can be as much as $20, but that's on top of the money you're going to get from the delivery. So it makes a lot of sense to make sure that you're getting that promotion as well. In my area, when I go out driving, it's a little bit away from where I start driving typically, because you have to start the first order in a particular area. But typically I'll go to that area, get my first one, and then the next few do not have to be in that same area. So it doesn't matter where I am, I'll go to my normal spots typically after that if the delivery is close enough to that, so that I can actually make that additional money and still get that promotion. You also get weekly quests, actually usually about 2 a week, that if you do a certain amount of deliveries, you get an extra amount of money. Sometimes it's as little as $10 extra. I've gotten it as much as a couple $100 extra for getting it. I've even got guarantees of over $1,000, $1,250. I've talked about this previously on the channel, where I was able to make about $2,000 in just about 16 hours of driving. So it was really great. Because of the promotions that we got from Uber. So those promotions make it a great thing for people to get started, to make as much money as possible, plus the ease of getting into the app in general and being approved to start driving. Now, some negatives about Uber Eats. Because of the thing that makes it great is that it's easy to get into, but because of that, there's so many people that may be on in your area that it's hard to actually get deliveries. And as time goes on, and the more and more that people talk about and find out how great of a moneymaker this is, more people are going to sign up, which is going to make it more difficult for people to actually make money, because there's more people out there getting the orders, which makes it better for the company, which is why they do it, because it's a lot less time that they're waiting to get those deliveries to their customers. But for those of us that are out there, it may be bad because there's more of us out there driving, so there's less money that we may be making because of that, because there's more people out. So that's kind of a negative on it, as well as a positive, because it's easy for you to get started. Another thing, those promotions and quests we talk about, they're going to be dependent on what city you're in. So I may be getting really great ones in the Tampa, Florida area, but if you're in another area, then you may be getting worse ones, or even worse, you may be getting none whatsoever. So that may be a factor for you. So it can be a negative as well, because they may just not have them in your area. So ultimately, Uber Eats is a great way, especially if you want to just get started with this. You can get signed up easy, quick, and get in, and then you're able to move forward with starting to make money right away and pretty quick. So a great service to get started with. And next, we're going to talk about Instacart. Now, Instacart is another great one. They may have a wait list in your area. I know when I signed up, it had a wait list, but the wait list was literally less than 2 days. before I got onto the app and was able to finish the sign up and get started. And then another great thing was they noticed right away while I was filling out the app on my phone that I had an Apple product, an iPhone, so they were able to set up the payment method right through my phone, so I could actually start taking orders right away. I didn't have to wait for a card to come in the mail. Now with Instacart, it's different than Uber Eats or DoorDash and Grubhub in the fact that it is specifically for grocery stores. Now, the other services have got into grocery stores, so you may get some orders from those places at different grocery stores for things, but Instacart is specifically only grocery stores. It also has liquor stores and things like that, but it's going to be shopping. It's not going to be a ready-made food like a restaurant. You're only going to get that. Now, that may be a negative to you, may be a positive. If you like to go shopping and you like to go in there and do the shopping, that's going to be the majority of the work. With the other services, a lot of times the majority of the work is driving around, picking up, dropping off, and continuing that. With this, you're going to stop at the store, you're going to be there for a little bit shopping, and the majority of the work may actually be the shopping rather than doing the delivering. And you're actually going to make more per mile. So when I do Instacart, I'm making double, triple, sometimes quadruple the amount per mile that I would on Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub, because you're the majority of the time driving with those services, whereas with Instacart, you can kind of park, go inside, do the work of the shopping, and then get out and start doing the delivery, which takes much less time to do. So a great way to make money that way. Some of the pros and great things other than those with Instacart is that you're going to make more per batch. And other services it's called an order, but on Instacart it's per batch. You're typically going to make more per batch than you would with the other services. So the minimum I would say you probably are going to see on there is $10, whereas the minimum on the other services are going to be about $3. Some of them are less than $1. You might see $1.15 order. I've seen an order from Uber Eats for $1.15, which I of course didn't accept. But with Instacart, the lowest in my area is actually $7, but typically they're all going to be around $10 is the minimum. Again, use your best judgment to take what you're going to accept. I typically don't accept unless it's a minimum of $20, and there's enough of them there that I'm able to drive regularly and make a decent amount of money when I go out and do Instacart. So it's a great way to get started, a great service. Some negatives for Instacart is that you're actually doing the shopping. So that takes up time, and if it's not something you're used to, you're not familiar with those stores, it can be something that takes more time than you're anticipating, which if it's taking more time, you're making less per hour and less money. So it's definitely something you want to consider. You want to use some strategies because the range of pay with Instacart shoppers is always going to be dependent on the strategies they use. So you may be in the lower end of $10 or $11, or you could be up in the upper end of $25 to $30 an hour, but it's going to depend on the strategies that you use. We're not going to discuss the strategies here because we've got other videos on them, and we recommend you definitely listen to those and watch those to talk about all the ways that you can make money with Instacart and improve your skills. So definitely there are going to be links in the description below to those to help you with the Instacart. Another thing that's a negative with Instacart is that a lot of times you're going to be carrying sometimes heavy bags. I've delivered quite a few times a bunch of things of water, 24 packs of water, or even 36 packs of water. So you're going to be making a lot of trips, and I don't know why, but all Instacart shopper or customers seem to be on the third or fourth floor with no elevator when they get packs of water or something heavy. It's just the way it works every single time. The heavier the object, the more likely you're going to be delivering to someone who's several flights up on the stairs. That's just been my experience. It doesn't always happen, but it does seem to happen quite often. So that's definitely a negative. If you're unable to carry things upstairs, it may be something that you want to consider before you sign up for this app. The next is Grubhub. Now, we absolutely love Grubhub for a number of reasons. It's a great food delivery service. If you haven't used it as a customer, highly recommend it. They've got great service that you receive. But as a driver, it's a great way to make money because it has a little barrier to entry. So you have to put yourself on a wait list most likely. It's taken me months before I was able to get into that the first time that I put in. It took me several months before I actually received the invitation to put in and become a Grubhub driver. So it does take a little bit of time depending on your area. If you don't have an area that has a lot of people trying to sign up, it may take less time. So that's a barrier to entry. But once you become a driver, it's actually a good thing because there's less people out there driving that are taking it. You're able to sign up for specific hours to drive. So you know that you're going to want to drive on a Saturday night. It's going to give you a time slot that you can actually sign up for, which in theory will give you the best rides or deliveries during that time. Because you're going to get priority because you actually signed up for it. Now, in addition to that, they'll actually have a lot of times guaranteed hourly rates for those times. So if you want to make money and you say, hey, I'm going to work those 4 hours, and they say, hey, okay, if you work those 4 hours, we'll guarantee you'll make at least $13 an hour. So if you don't make that amount of money, which with the different strategies and things we talk about on the channel, you should definitely be able to make that amount of money. But just in case you don't, you're able to guarantee the company will pay you at least that amount, which is great, especially for new drivers that are a little concerned about being able to make money. This is a guaranteed amount that you're able to sign up for. So you know, hey, if they're going to pay me $13 an hour for 4 hours, I know I'm at least going to make about 50 bucks. So at least that you have that mindset that, hey, I'm going to make at least a little bit of money. So it's not a big deal. But then you'll most likely make more money if you go out there and actually do the driving. Another great thing about Grubhub is the customers are actually going to tip beforehand, and Grubhub actually will suggest a high tip at the beginning. So if you've ever delivered or got delivery from this service, you'll see that usually it's about 20-25%. They're like, hey, tip this amount, and if you want it lower, you have to lower it. Sometimes people will, but a lot of times people will just, whatever it is, they're hungry, they want it, they just click the next button and they're just trying to get through to get that. So a lot of times you're going to make that extra money with that. Some negatives when it comes to Grubhub is that incentives are a little times rare. Sometimes you won't see that guaranteed money. Sometimes you won't see these other things for a long time, depending on your market. So it may be something in your market you never see. It may be something that you rarely see, but that is a concern with Grubhub, that they are a little bit few and far between. Another thing is that they strongly encourage you to sign up for those time slots, almost to the point where they make you feel like that's the only way that you can get out there and make money, is to join during one of those time slots, when in reality you can go out whenever you want, but you're guaranteed that time slot if you put it in there. So they make it seem like that's the only time, but you can actually go out other times as well. Another concern is that you're hindered in the zone that you can deliver in. So whatever zone you sign up for is the zone you're going to be delivering in. So if you signed up for the closest major city to you, thinking that you're going to be able to deliver in your smaller town a little bit away, that may not be the case if that zone is not included in that. So for me, I have a couple of different zones that are nearby. I have to pick the right one. Otherwise, I'm not going to get to be able to deliver in basically my area that I'm familiar with and comfortable with. So definitely something to consider, especially when you're first signing up. And finally, we have DoorDash, which right now is the best delivery app to be out on. So right now, there's a survey that found that 55% of sales last year, 1 month last year, came from DoorDash. So the majority of sales are for delivery in a lot of different areas are coming from DoorDash. So it's a great app to be on right now, because a lot of the deliveries out there are going to be from DoorDash. Now, again, this is going to depend on your area. So some areas, most areas, DoorDash is doing a lot, or doing a lot more than the others. Some areas it's not. So it's going to depend on your area. So do the research, find out what your area is like, and get out there and drive. But DoorDash is a great service to get out, to start driving with. Some of the great things about DoorDash is that it's going to give you a ton of information when you get the initial delivery. It's going to give you the total time. It's going to give you the pickup. It's going to give you the drop-off location. It's going to give you how much money you're going to make. It gives you a lot more information than the other delivery apps does. So it helps you to make the decision on if you're going to accept something or not. So it's a great way for you to make the most amount of money because you're able to pick exactly which order you want. There's also incentives with DoorDash. Sometimes they give you an additional $3 in an order. So on top of the order fee, on top of the delivery fee or the tip fee, you're also going to get sometimes this additional bonus. So it's a great way to make additional money with DoorDash. Now, some of the negatives is that DoorDash has a flat rate fee. So sometimes that's going to be great if you're going just a little bit. So if you're going half a mile for a delivery, you're going to get, hey, this flat fee is great. But if you're going 5-10 miles for that flat rate, it's not going to feel as great because you're driving further for the same amount of money. So it can be a negative in that aspect. The support through the driver app has some issues and has unfortunately been unhelpful. Many of our drivers have reported that they've been unable to get assistance, so the support itself can be an issue. And then there's a scheduling issue with DoorDash, so you have to have that schedule in. If they didn't get enough people to sign up, you can always go online, but a lot of times you have to pick the schedule ahead of time and you're not able to go out and drive. So you need to pick that schedule. So that can be a little bit of a difficulty, especially for those of us that aren't sure exactly when we're going to drive. Sometimes we're like, hey, I might drive Saturday night if, and we're at the beginning of the week. We don't know if we're going to have that if happen by then. So that can be an issue. Again, sometimes you'll be able to start up and go out anyway, but you can't count on that like you can with a lot of the other apps. So that's a negative for sure with DoorDash. But overall, great app to get started in. Again, there's a wait list. So if you're even considering driving for them in the future, sign up now so that if there's a wait list in your area, you can get started right away. So thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Which is your favorite delivery app? Please let us know in the comments. We read every single one. We really appreciate it. And if you're ready to get started driving for DoorDash, we actually have a video on 5 tips for new DoorDash drivers. So please check that out. We're going to have that video for you here. Please, if you're interested in starting for DoorDash, this is a great video. It gives you 5 tips from someone with thousands of deliveries with DoorDash and exactly what they do to make the most amount of money. So definitely want to listen to it. Stay safe out there, everyone.